to the For Fun of Knit podcast. My name is Linda. I can be found as Nena Knits on Ravelry, or For the Fun of Knit podcast with underscore in between each word on Instagram. This is a knitting podcast, actually a fibery podcast, about all things wonderful about yarn and knitting, and certainly my adventures and misadventures as I knit and complete projects. This is kind of a fun episode because this month, November, is actually my the second birthday of this podcast. Couldn't decide if it was an anniversary or a birthday, but I think it's a birthday. So I've decided to do a little bit of hoopla for the birthday. Going to be a regular podcast, nothing too exciting. We're going to go through finished objects and works in progress, etc. But I do have a couple of giveaways, which is fun. I have the giveaway from the last video, and the gift is actually a beautiful skein of Scrumptious Pearl yarn, which is a Canadian dyer in, I can't remember the colorway, but I'll tell you in a second. So this beautiful, and this is how it comes in a ball like that. Beautiful, kind of festive. And I have a different giveaway, which we'll talk about a little bit later as well. So thank you. If you are new to this channel, thank you for giving it a shot. If you are a returning viewer, thank you guys so much. I thoroughly love all the comments. I think we've got about 100 comments on the last video. And so I will be talking about that because there's method to my madness about the comments. At least I try to have some method to my madness. What can I say? I'm very excited about today and looking forward to spending this time with you. So thank you for joining me. As my second birthday, as the second birthday of my podcast, not my second birthday, just wanted to share with you, if, just as a little bit of a recap, why I started podcasting in the first place and sort of the journey. Really short, not going to be long-winded about this at all. But for those of you who haven't seen my previous episodes, I started podcasting in November of 2019 in Spain, in the southern part, the Costa del Sol in Spain, which is where my husband Patrick and I aspire to live one day. We just love it there. It's a second home for us. We are actually going back in January, February of this year with a little bit of trepidation. So I'm still very nervous. I have no fingernails left. I've bitten them all off. Yes, I'm a nail biter. I bit them all off just thinking about flying. So just COVID hasn't, COVID's not over. So we have hummed and hawed and hummed and hawed and hummed and hawed as to whether or not we should go. And we're just going to do our best. So we will see. It's nice to know that Spain has one of the lowest COVID rates now. It was one of the highest when it started, but now they're like literally 100% vaccinated, and the folks have been doing a great job, and they have almost a much lower rate of COVID even than Canada. So yay. That said, you still got to get there. And it's not so much about the country itself or when you're there, because you can isolate and do all the right things when you're there. It's the actual travel process. Airports, planes, taxis. Yeah, freaks me out a bit. But anyway, on a happier note, so I started in 2019 in November, and I started because I had just discovered podcasts, number one. Where we stay does not have television. It has internet, which is awesome, thank goodness. And so thank you for Netflix and for podcasts. I discovered podcasts. I just started surfing on YouTube and hey, typed in knitting because I guess I was trying to learn a stitch or something, and all these podcasts came up. Wow, that was a life changer, game changer for me when it came to not only knitting, but the knitting community. And so I would much rather watch a podcast or search out a new podcaster on a variety of topics, not just knitting, than watch television. Seriously, you could just not have cable or satellite as far as I'm concerned, and just have podcasts and audio podcasts as well. So, and I will talk about a few of them. Some of them I've been, absolutely a fan from the get-go. Watched all their back episodes and continue to watch them. And some come and go, and some I come back to. It depends on, how I'm feeling. or what my mood is and what I need, because there's so many different personalities in podcasters and different, lenses from which they view their craft, that it's a lot of fun, and it's you can never get tired of any of these podcasts. So that was kind of one of the reasons. The other reason, part of the first reason as well, is that I thought, hey, I'm not a great knitter. I was a newbie and make a ton of mistakes, and thought, maybe some of my mistakes might be helpful for someone else, and maybe it won't be so intimidating to knit or start knitting or try certain things if you can see that, you can make mistakes, and guess what? Your project will be fine. And I'm a personality type that, while I'm quite driven, I'm not a perfectionist by any stretch of the imagination. And I think if you are any kind of craft, it's quite hard if you are a perfectionist. I think it can be quite stressful. I'm not. I'm a sufficer. And I got that term, actually, I'm going to digress just a little bit, from a wonderful podcast, audio podcast from Gretchen Rubin. And I think it's called Happy? I think it's called Happier. Gretchen Rubin is from New York. She has studied happiness. Interesting topic. Has studied happiness from the get-go. And she started an audio podcast joint with her sister. Hilarious. Her sister lives in LA, and her sister is in the movie industry. I can't remember what she does. She's a screenwriter or something. But the two of them just kibitz for half an hour, 30 minutes, and they usually just come up with like one sort of focus or helpful hint or thing to make your life easier or more enjoyable or whatever per podcast. If you haven't ever listened to it, by all means, check it out. If I can figure out how to do links, I'll put a link below, but it's called Happier, and it's Gretchen Rubin. So anyway, the whole point of that was she categorizes people. Not that I'm a fan of categorizing. However, a personality trait is a sufficer. And a sufficer is the type of person that loves to do things, very committed, very energetic about it. But if mistakes are made, or it doesn't go quite as far as plan goes, or it doesn't turn out quite the way you thought, it's like, okay, well, that's all right. It's good enough. It's good enough. And rather than get all upset and redo it and scrap it all and start over and whatever, sufficers just tend to go, okay, it didn't work out the way I thought, but that's okay. Move on. Move on to something else. Is it good enough? Yeah, it's good enough. At least I think that's what she means by sufficer. So I'm still very new into the podcast, but that was my sort of takeaway, because sufficers tend to be less stressed. So I thought that was very cool. And I guess it had to relate to happiness. And I don't know how to define happiness per se, but people tended to be a little bit less stressed and maybe a little bit more nimble if they were sufficers versus if they needed to be perfect about certain things. So back to knitting. There's a method to this. There's a reason I'm talking about this. In my knitting, I'm a sufficer, and I think you all have pretty much figured that out when I talk about the mistakes that I've made. And I got a few doozies to show you today, which is so much fun. Yes, I actually find it fun, strangely enough. But that was one of the reasons I started podcasting, is because I wanted, one, I was so inspired by other podcasters. Two, I wanted to share my adventures and misadventures. And three, I was in Spain with no one to knit with. Honestly, very selfish. I thought it would be nice to be able to reach out to a knitting community. So it started very slowly for the first year. So what was that? That was November 2019. I did a couple of podcasts in Spain. My father passed away. Then I took several months off, and I didn't start podcasting until April 2020. And then it was like COVID and everything else. So now, one big shout out to the Knitting Posse, because Kim, Kate, Laura, and Lorian, I reached out actually to a couple podcasters just asking for some ideas, and they responded to me. And before I knew it, I had just a whole bunch of people subscribing, and it was just, so thank you to you guys. If you ever watch this podcast, thank you so much. And they're one of the podcasts that I follow religiously. Sorry that Lorian has moved on. I don't know if she's going to start her own channel or what the scoop is there, but Kate, Laura, and Kim are still podcasting under the Knitting Posse. So very happy about that. Then fast forward to now, about 1,500 subscribers. Awesome. And now it's 2 years later. And what I would say about that is, while it's fun to have subscribers, I'm more interested in the thumbs up if you actually liked it, and I'm more interested in the comments. Subscribe if you want to. You subscribe if you want to see additional episodes as they get published. But I don't make any money off this channel. I'm never going to do advertising. I don't sell. I don't have an Etsy shop. I'm not a yarn dyer. I don't have a farm. So this is just purely for the love of knitting and for the love of sharing those crafts. And I love it when you share back. So, and part of that is I've got quite a stash, and I like to share some of my stash with folks who love knitting or are going to try knitting for the first time, and in hopes that it inspires you to knit more, knit differently, just knit. Heck, just knit. So that is sort of the history of my YouTube channel. So that said, what can I tell you? So some of the podcasts, I'm going to name a few podcasts that I've watched, only because there's so many out there. So just the fact that you're actually watching this one, I'm so very grateful. So thank you very, very much, because you have a plethora of YouTube videos you could be watching around knitting. So some of the ones, I just wanted to share some of the ones that inspired me. So the ones that inspired me at the very, very beginning when I was in Spain was Caroline from Dunder Knits. Jude Florence, formerly Amy Florence of this Stranded Dye Works. She's awesome. Ellie from Craft House Magic, I watch religiously. Diane from the Suburban Stitcher, and hoping she gets back to podcasting again. As well as Joanna from Stitching the High Notes. Those were the ones that I first started watching, and then that I religiously watch to this day. So those absolutely. Other ones that I have gotten a huge kick out are Chevy Stuff, Cheverell, Needles at the Ready, so Kevin and Ray, the Knitting Posse, of course. Wow, love those ladies. Love everything that they knit, totally my aesthetic. Even though, interestingly enough, I have been knitting things with a lot of color, and I actually prefer the neutral tones. Look what I'm wearing. I'll talk about that in a second as well. Strange. Knitters League, yeah, I thoroughly enjoy watching them. I used to love the Espace Tricot, Melissa and Lisa. And so I'll start watching the new ladies from Espace Tricot because I want to give them a shot for sure. Fiber Hustle, absolutely watch them. And now also a Yarn Tale, Karen from A Yarn Tale and Ruth from Ruth Loves to Knit. So those are kind of my go-to podcasts, and there are so many out there. And I do love other ones, and I tune into them on and off. And oh, and sorry, forgot another one, Martin from Knit 365. So those are kind of my go-tos. I have subscribed to them all, and I love getting their channels so that I can watch them. But interestingly enough, is when you watch or fall in love with a podcast, life changes. Life changes, people change, you know, podcasters come and go. Like Caroline from Dunder Knits hasn't podcasted in over a year, so hope she's okay. Don't know what the scoop was there. What else? Espace Tricot doesn't the ladies from Espace Tricot have moved on to different adventures as well. So everything changes. It's all good, but everything changes. That's one of the things. I've got some notes here just because I had so much thoughts about 2 years in terms of podcasting. Oh, see, there you go. Everything changes. One of my more recent podcasts that I subscribe to and watch, and actually they have a knit night, is Knits and Pieces. So Kelly and Noelle from Knits and Pieces. If you haven't checked them out, please do. And on Tuesday nights, there's about 80 of us that get together watching their live podcast, which is a lot of fun. And they all still inspire me to this day. seriously, the projects, the yarn, just getting to know the podcasters, the individuals, as well as some of the audience. You get to know the regulars, which is a lot of fun. So if you're looking for a community, knitting is a great one. I have to say, it is a great community. But enough chitter chatter. Okay, so happy birthday to For the Fun of Knit. Happy birthday to the For Fun of Knit. Happy birthday, dear For Fun of Knit. Happy birthday to you. So on that note, let's start with the giveaway. I know we're going to dive right into the giveaway. We'll do finished objects and everything else in a minute. So in the last podcast, I asked you to tell me who is your favorite project bag maker? Do you use project bags, and who's your favorite project bag maker? And quite a few of you, we all use project bags of some sort, but there's a great number of you that responded that you make your own. So that inspired me. I want to make a project bag. So now I've got my sewing area set up. So I'm all gung-ho now to try and make my own project bag just for the heck of it. However, thank you so much, because what I'm going to do with those comments, I have taken a picture of all of the logos that I could find from each of the companies that you mentioned in the comments, and I am going to put them at the end of this video, to music of course, so that you can review all the different project bag makers. There was too many for me to type them all out and link the links. So hopefully the names and the logos are clear. Some of them have Etsy shops, pardon me, and some of them are just direct websites. So if you Google any of these names, they will come up. So I apologize that I did not type down below with all the links, but that was way too much. But I wanted to do that because, one, I love exploring new makers, and I thought, hey, if we can promote these small businesses in some way. If I have 1,500 subscribers, hopefully I will get, 1,500 views of a video, and maybe one of those makers will appeal to you, and it's just in time for Christmas. Maybe you have a last minute gift you want to purchase, and a lot of these makers, they make project bags plus a few other things. So you might be able to find something. So thank you to everybody who commented, whether you buy project bags or not, it's all eligible. But what the giveaway is this beautiful skein of yarn from Scrumptious Purl in their Stripe Me Up base. So it's self-striping in the Blushing Blossoms colorway. And it is 80% merino superwash, 20% nylon. And it's very festive. Now what looks on my camera, it looks like it's white. It's not. It's actually a blush pink, red, and green. Still very festive. I don't think it was intended as a festive colorway, but it certainly shows that way. So that is the gift. Whoever wins, I am going to unskein it or unroll it and put it into like an actual skein or a hank so that I can mail it. So whoever wins this puppy, it's not going to come to you in a ball. I'm just letting you know that. So without further ado, let us get our comments. Okay, and I am going to show you this. So you will see it probably before I will. Here we go. And there it goes. It's choosing a winner. And that is the winner. You will see it before I do. I hope you can see it with all my camera ring. Susan Shady. And okay, so Susan replied, Fringe Supply stopped making bags. Unfortunately, it was one of the logos that I didn't put up there because they stopped making bags. But they sell kits and the pattern to make your own. So if anybody's looking at wanting to make their own pattern, I know there's some free ones on YouTube, but if you're looking for something different, Fringe Supply still sells their pattern to make them. She has made 10. And she enlarged the pattern and made her version of the town bag to hold a sweater. She loves them. They were a bit pricey to get started. Doesn't matter, they don't sell them anymore. But purchasing the pattern was well worth it. So Susan, you are the winner. Susan Shady. you are the winner. So please either direct message me on Instagram under for the fun of knit, or email me at nenaknits@gmail.com with your particulars, and I will mail that out to you. So that is the first giveaway. And I will get to the second giveaway, because this is super special, a little bit later. Awesome. So let's talk about finished objects. I only have one, sorry, just a little sip. This is my Miss Pearl mug. This is a yarn shop. Can't remember the city. I'll post it somewhere because I can't remember the city, but Carrie, who is my wool swap partner, sent me this mug. It is a yarn shop that just opened up. So a very independent small business. So love to support that. So if anybody lives in the area, Miss Pearl, and I will certainly post where it is. Oh, south side of Chicago. It says right on my mug. I like that. South side Chicago. There you go. If you live in that area, check out Miss Pearl. So I thought I would just highlight that. So thank you, Carrie, if you're watching. What I'm wearing before I get to my first finished object, sorry, this is the Millie sweater. This is, and again, I'm wearing it because this was the first real sweater, I think. One of the first real sweaters that I made. I made this in Spain. And it is made with yarn that I purchased at Barcelona Knits in November 2019. The yarn was Volberg. I'll have to put the name. It's hard for me. It's a German name. And it is in their coffee shop colorway. And it was a beautiful, beautiful merino in fingering weight. And I can't remember, the mohair was a soft pink. Val Fulberg. That's what it was. Val Fulberg. But I don't remember, I'll have to look it up. I don't remember, but it's just held together with a very light blush pink mohair. And the Millie sweater, love this pattern. I would make it again. What I would do differently is I didn't have enough yarn for the way I like to make a sweater. If I'm going to make a raglan, at one point in one of my videos, I said that I would never make raglan again because I can't wear vests with them. Well, I've changed my mind about that because all it means is I have to knit the sleeves longer, because if you're wearing a tight-fitting vest over a sweater, it pulls your sleeve up, and I don't like my arms to be bare. So it just means I have to make super extra long sleeves, which I'm totally fine to do. I don't have a problem with Sleeve Island. So needless to say, this is the Millie sweater. It's a nice boxy. It's a little cropped only because, I don't know if you can see this, if I pull back a little bit. It's cropped only because I didn't have enough yarn. I think the pattern actually is a cropped pattern, but I prefer it a little bit longer. But super cozy, super wonderfully warm, and absolutely a really good first knit pattern if you're thinking about doing that. The Millie sweater. There you go. So now so that was the Millie sweater. So now let's talk about knitting, finished objects. Well, I only have one finished object, and I have to put a picture, which I will do here in a second. The actual pattern is the Melissa Beanie. The Melissa Beanie by Knit by Day Designs. I made this for my brother-in-law, John, for Christmas. This is a gender agnostic pattern. It's called the Melissa Beanie, but it is absolutely a great pattern regardless. It's unisex as far as I'm concerned. I used my, I used my beautiful Christmas themed bag by Handmade by Diane. She's got an Etsy shop. Love it. Very festive. Makes me very happy. And I made the beanie. As you can see, I'll post a picture here. Here's the finished object. Why am I caught here? What am I caught on? Oh dear. Oh dear, what am I caught on? There we go. I made it with this beautiful, my leftover, believe it or not, I had several skeins left over of the Madeline Tosh Merino, which is a worsted weight, in the Joshua Tree colorway. So hopefully you can see with the light what a beautiful green that is. It's gorgeous. So it's color 409. They don't make it anymore. Madeline Tosh doesn't make it anymore. See, these are all my ends. Oh dear. But it is a beautiful yarn. It's single ply, and I held it double, and I have enough to make another one. So I will be making another one. You use, what size needles do you use? You use US 10s or 6.5 millimeter needles. It's a fast knit. It is an easy knit. The cables are super simple, and it's just a lovely gift knit if you're thinking about a last minute Christmas gift and you don't have a lot of time. It didn't take, I would say it takes about 6 hours, 6 to 7 hours to knit it. I'm a slow knitter, so some people probably could whip that off in 4 hours, not a problem. 1 or 2 evenings, you're done. Me, it took me about three or 4 evenings to do it, but it was absolutely an easy knit. That is my only finished object. It's my only finished object, one, because of shawlography. That absolutely took all of my focus. But I've also got 3 works in progress that I'm working on, and 2 of them are actually going to go by the waist or put aside in a little bit because I want to focus on the 3rd. Currently it is November 24th, so I don't have much time left in November, and December 1st is kind of the start of a big thing. Yep, 'tis the season. So that big thing we shall talk about later. So I want to get as much done, excuse me, as I can now. And so I am knitting on 3 things. So a pair of Christmas socks, which I'm going to talk about this. This is lovely. This is in my I Heart You bag. So Laura from I Heart You, she is a maker from Vancouver Island, and I love her bags. She does such a nice job making her project bags. So this is one of them. I've got a couple of hers. I am knitting, what did I do with my actual sock? Little funny thing about this sock. I am knitting just some vanilla ribbed socks, and I love this. This is the Rudolph colorway from Sweet Skein of Mine in her sock base, which is just beautiful. And this is a Timber Yarns mini that I got in a beautiful blue toned red. And the heel is done in, I hope you can see the colors. The heel is done in a Hue Loco mini. This is from my last year's Christmas advent. And this colorway, it was a Harry Potter themed advent. And this colorway is called Aragog, Spider Aragog, and it's beautiful. Absolutely lovely. So Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, toes, red. I didn't know if I had enough red to do the heels and the cuffs, so I decided on a brown Rudolph hoof-like heel, and I have only knit to where I'm going to put the cuff, and now I've started my second sock. Because I don't know if I have enough red. So I want to make sure that I get both socks to the same spot before I start the cuffs. So that said, a couple things about these socks. One, I am doing a 3x1 rib. My vanilla sock is 64 stitches and using a 2.25 needle. I would have knit these. My preference is to knit 2 at a time socks on magic loop. This is what I prefer. I could not do that again with these socks because of this. Because the yarn, if you look closely, this is the outside of the skein, this is the inside of the skein. Now you might not be able to see it very clearly, but there is more color in this section of the skein than there is the top. Now, a lot of folks don't mind if they have one sock that is more dyed than the other. Me, I'm kind of matchy-matchy that way. I'm still a sufficer, but I like my socks to match as much as I can. So I split the skein in two, and I am doing helical knitting in order to marry the two colors. And hopefully you can see this. I don't know if I'm close enough, but this, and excuse my horrible nails, but this is a Sucra miniature progress keeper, and it is a gingerbread muffin with a little bit of gingerbread and a candy cane on top. And it's the absolute perfect match for these socks, so it's very cute. But I'm doing helical knitting, and all that means is I'm using 2 strands of yarn, and I do 1 round in one strand, and then I switch and I do another round. Now, in order to switch yarns, you simply, when you get to the end of your round, 3 stitches before, and I shouldn't say the round, 3 stitches before you come to the previous yarn, you slip 3 stitches, take your current yarn, put it in the front. No, that's wrong. See, I have a hard time explaining this. Let's try this again. You knit a couple of rows in 1 strand of yarn. Then when you want to start helical knitting, you join the second yarn, knit all the way around until 3 stitches before you reach the previous yarn. So 3 stitches before, you will take your current yarn that you're knitting with, put it in the front of your knitting, slip 3 stitches, and then pick up the previous yarn, knit all the way around until 3 stitches before you reach that previous yarn again. You'll take your current yarn, drop it in front, slip 3 stitches, pick up the old yarn or the previous yarn, knit around 3 stitches before you get to that next yarn. You will put your current yarn in front, slip 3 stitches, pick up the other yarn, knit around. That's called helical knitting. I hope that explanation works. There are other podcasters that do a better job of that than I do, but but it's okay. What it does is it makes sure that my 2 socks are coming out as even as possible. Are they going to be perfect? No, because the dye fades, from the coloring fades from one skein to the next. But it's really fun to do it. It's a very fast knit, enjoying it thoroughly. What I have to highlight is my yarn buddy, my knitting buddy, my yarn buddy. This is a beautiful solid wood handmade piece. You can get them through Fleece and Harmony and PEI. It is a crafter out of Nova Scotia who makes these beautiful yarn buddies, and they're done with, you can hear the ball bearings under them. They just have a very faint sound as it turns of the ball bearings, but it is smooth and effortless, and as you knit, it just turns. It is absolutely wonderful, and you can use 1 skein. I've got 2 skeins on here, which is working perfectly for my project. So highly recommend. I'm going to say these will run anywhere between $70 Canadian and $100 Canadian. So if you want to buy a special gift for a knitter, by all means, reach out to Fleece and Harmony. They might be sold somewhere else because, again, the crafter's in Nova Scotia. But I got mine through Kim at Fleece and Harmony when I was on Prince Edward Island. So yes, I brought it back in my carry-on. I absolutely love that one. Wish I had a couple because it's perfect for the way I knit socks. So one other thing I want to talk about my socks is everything in sock knitting to me is a bit of an experiment. I'm in search of the perfect sock. I'm a sufficer. There will never be a perfect sock for me, but I recently, for my last video, if you remember, I recently tried the Shadow Wrap short roll heel. Shadow Wrap short row heel. And I learned it from Denise of Earth Tone Girl. And when I did my first one, and I don't have it with me, too bad I don't have it with me, but when I did my first one, I found a beautiful heel. Absolutely love it. Love the way it works. Why I tried it in the first place is because I have always been an afterthought heel person. And then you just end up, you know, cutting your sock and then picking up the stitches, and then you just start, add the new yarn, and then you do exactly the same method as you would make a toe. So exactly the same method as doing a toe if you were doing a cuff down sock. I wanted to try knitting the heel in with the sock, and I've tried the gusset and flap heel, and I'm not a huge fan. I can't quite get that to fit properly. It tends to be too narrow again on the ball, on the bottom of my heel. It's just a small little heel, and I've got a nice rounded heel. It's sturdy, nice rounded heel, and I also have quite a distance between the curve of my heel, from my heel to my leg curve to my instep. That is quite wide. So I need a bit of a deeper heel. And so the Shadow Wrap Short Row heel that Denise was talking about, I did that on my Halloween socks, and I found the heel too shallow. Still wearable, totally fine. Not my favorite because it's just too shallow. So thank you for those of you, I think it was Kim and Kara, both commented in my last video that I should try just adding some extra stitches on the ends of my needle so once I've separated for the front and the back, and I'm about to start the first section, the back section or the front section, depending on the first section of my heel, just add stitches on either end of the needle. So I thought, okay, that kind of makes sense. And I did that. Thank you for that suggestion. Bang on. Made a much deeper heel. Perfect. But here's where the misadventure comes in. I added 4 stitches on each side. So I knit across, added 4 stitches, then purled back, added 4 stitches, and then started the shadow wrap heel process. A wee bit of overkill. So nothing like just diving right in and not really thinking about what would 8 stitches look like in terms of the width and the depth of the heel. The depth is great. The width is a little wide. I think you can see this. Look at how wide that is compared to my toe. I don't know if you can see, but I got a mushroom thing happening here with my sock. So I kind of laugh. You can see my heel. That's a better way of looking at it. You can see how my heel is sort of odd looking. I'm not going to get into how odd. It looks odd. There are things you could say about this sock, but literally, just a little overkill on my part. Fits great. It's just a little loose. So I am going to make the second sock exactly the same because my socks, they have to feel the same on my feet. But the next pair of socks I do, I'm only going to increase 2 stitches on each end and see how that goes. But this is totally the right idea. So thank you, Kim and Kara, for making that suggestion. And I love this heel. There is something very satisfying about the heel being knit right in with the sock. And then when you're finished, you're finished. You do not have to go back and put in an afterthought heel. I still like afterthought heels, nothing wrong with them, but, but hey, I like trying new things, and I'm thinking that this is going to be a new fave for a while. So stay tuned with me and I'll let you know how it goes. So this is, why am I having troubles putting my yarn buddy back in? What I like about the wooden yarn buddy is it fits very nicely right in. You just place it right in your drawstring sock-sized knitting bag. So thank you for that. That was one finished object, or pardon me, works in progress. My second work in progress is a new favorite, an old again, new again favorite. Oh my goodness, do I love this project. This is in my Stitching the High Notes Christmas bag from last year. Joanna of Stitching the High Notes. Still, she has a studio vlog. She calls it a studio vlog. And I love her podcast. It's just, or studio vlog. I love it. She's so calm and introspective and warm. And she just makes me feel all warm and fuzzy. And I just love her. Would love to meet her in person. Joanna, if you ever see this, I'd love to meet you in person. If I ever get to San Francisco, the Bay Area. But this is, I finished shawlography. I'm so proud of myself that I actually started and finished an entire shawl in the time frame that Stephen West gave you to do shawlography. Last year it was Slipstravaganza. I started really, really well, and then I hated my colors and I just put it aside. Well, you've been through the saga of how I changed the colors, and if you want to know how I changed the colors and made this shawl something I actually liked, tune into a previous video where I talk about how I fix the colors. But this is my Slipstravaganza. So this was Stephen West's Mystery Knit Along from 2020. And here's where I am so far. Look at this. I'm doing a Christmassy theme. Those are my colors that I kind of wanted to do. And I didn't like my first version. So this is my second version. And as you know, I reknit this whole part. I cut it out, reknit it, and reattached it to my shawl. So this is section 1. This is section 2. Let me bring it up. This is section 2. The triangles are section 3. Since I talked to you last, I did section 4, which is this simple brick grid sort of pattern, section 4. And I have done section 5, which is the triangles. And so now I'm doing pink triangles, and now I'm ready for the final section, which is section 6, which is humongous. It's the chevron-y stripes, right? So these triangles are setting the foundation for these really nice chevron-y stripes. There's going to be, I'm doing the large shawl, so there's going to be 6 stripes, and I'm alternating between my primary colors and mohair. A mohair held double. Yeah, it's silk mohair held double. So these are my primary colors. So basically a variegated cream with some colors in it. My sparkly, my Stellina pink, my Stellina green, my Stellina blue. These are all Black Cat custom yarns. This actual white has all of the colors in it. It's not Stellina, but it has speckles of all the colors in it. And that is a Zen Garden colorway from Old Stash. Don't even remember, don't have the tag. And then I've alternated. This is still the original shawl. This is all the original shawl. So I just have white and red, and then I have a selection of greens and Christmas colors alternating with strands of silk mohair in off-white or white held double. And so then again, it goes to the red and white, and now I'm going to do the stripes alternating these primary colors. So it's going to be the pink, the green, and the blue alternating with the mohair held double. So that will be my Christmas version of Slipstravaganza, and this is going to be huge. But I'm hoping to get this finished for Christmas. Hoping. But it has to go on the back burner. This one has to go on the back burner for the rest of November, along with my socks. So my socks I'm just going to put in my car, literally, and they're going to get done whenever I have a couple minutes to sort of knit, where I can't take the project that I need to focus on the most. And none of you are going to be, well, maybe you'll be surprised by this, but I don't think you're going to be surprised by this. But look at this. I love it when in a sock project bag, These are just small project bags. These are not the large ones. I don't know if they're socks, but it can fit a whole shawl. All the yarn is in here, and my Slipstravaganza is in here. So love that. Joanna from Stitching the High Notes makes lovely bags. But this puppy is what I got to focus on now. So I have been re-inspired to finish Patrick's sweater. I think this is the third time I'm knitting it. Not the fourth time, but this is the third time I'm knitting it. Third time lucky. So let's hope it is in this beautiful, huge project bag from Laura of I Heart You. And this is so Patrick because bears are his favorite. And this is covered with bears. And every once in a while, there's a bear that's yawning. So this is his project bag. So this is my beautiful button neck sweater. Do I have the pattern in here? I probably don't have the pattern, but I'll show a picture for you. I have switched yarns. I originally was using Brooklyn Tweed Quarry. Love that yarn. What I love about it is how lightweight it is, but it is, if not an Aran, must be an Aran weight, which is too much for the sweater. The sweater required DK and I just couldn't get the gauge and it was not working. So I've switched to Charisma, Drops Charisma, which is 100% wool. And I chose this wool because it's exactly the same color as the Obsidian from Brooklyn Tweed Quarry, which is the color that Patrick really liked. So that's why I chose this, and it's 100% wool. I didn't want to do superwash because this is a fisherman's rib sweater. And it's supposed to be super warm. So here we are. This is the body. I have split for the front and the back, and I've done the decreases for the armholes, and I'm now well into the back. I'm about halfway through the back. I have about another 3.5 inches of the back, and then I go into the front where you end up having to do splitting for the collar. So that's going to be interesting. But this is going to be my focus for the next 8 to 10 days because I'm running out of time and I want this one to be finished for Christmas. So, oh guys, I need lots of moral support and inspiration to get this one done. It's hard knitting in dark colors. It really is. It's hard knitting. One, I think it's hard knitting, not for me. How selfish am I? But it's a little bit difficult. But it's also hard, like dark gray. Yeah, and it's ribbed. The whole thing is ribbing. Whole thing is fisherman rib. So, hey, now the pattern is actually knit in pieces, worked flat, knit in pieces, seamed up. I decided not to do that. This may or may not come back to bite me. I'm not too sure, but I decided to knit it in the round. That made it go a little bit faster than the first time, which is nice. What you lose in doing it in the round is you lose a bit of structure, I think. And so what I'm noticing, and I don't know if you can see it, but everything seems to be leaning, like it's almost like it's twisted. I'm hoping that will block straight when I block it. But everything is kind of sort of turning, which is a little bit concerning at the moment. I can manipulate it and lay it so that it's flat and all the ribbing is up and down, but right now it's kind of all kind of going around in a circle, so I'm a little worried about that. Okay, and then I was worried because gauge when you're knitting in the round is quite often different than gauge when you work flat. And the moment I split for the front and the back and started working in the back, I thought, oh my God. Two things really I was concerned about. One, gauge. Was my gauge going to be different? And two, it's a different process to do fisherman's rib flat versus front, doing it in the round. In the round, you have to switch what you're doing. You're always knitting the front side or the outside. You're always knitting the outside going around. So every row, you have to switch what you're doing. When you're knitting front and back, you're doing the same stitch front and back and front and back and front and back. And I thought, oh my goodness, is that process going to look different? Flat versus in the round? I am so relieved my gauge is, you cannot tell any difference in my gauge so far, and you cannot tell any difference in the actual stitching of where I switched from knitting in the round to working it flat. Yay me! So I'm so super tickled about that. And I am motivating myself by using a lot of stitch markers, and these beautiful Christmas themed stitch markers are from Whimsy Charms. I'll put the name up here, but it's a Canadian progress keeper and charm maker, and it's Whimsical Charms, I think, or Whimsy Charms. I'll have to put it up there, but I love them. They're absolutely gorgeous. And of course, I have made a ton of mistakes. So, mistakes. Well, you know, first of all, this side, I love this beautiful armhole. If I put it here, is nice and smooth, and it actually looks like I knew what I was doing when I was knitting and binding off. It's lovely. This side, I don't know why, but it doesn't look, I don't know if you can see that or not, but it is lumpy, bumpy, and messy. So that's a concern. The second concern is how you decrease in the pattern is leaving holes. I don't know if you can see my finger there. There's a hole there. There's a hole there. There's a hole there. Same on the other side. So everywhere that I'm decreasing, it's leaving holes. Because you're knitting two together, or you're, you know, knitting, slip knitting or whatever. And so I think what I'm going to have to do is when I'm finished is I'm going to have to go in the back with a little bit of yarn and sort of bring those together. I've tried, you know, cinching up the stitches and everything, but it's not changing. You can see, like, if I pull it, like, there are holes. So I've got to, and a very nice, it's almost like a raglan pattern. Very nice, very aesthetically pleasing, but I don't think I want to have holes in the sweater. So that's something that I'm doing. Oh, see, and here I see, the moment I start picking it up, I see where I have made a mistake. And the thing with fisherman's rib is if you've made a mistake, it's very difficult to go back. So I don't use lifelines. I probably should have used lifelines, but that's just not me. I'm a sufficer. Remember that. I'm not a perfectionist. And I'm probably the only one who's going to look as close to my knitting as I do. I don't think anyone else. See, there you go. Just pull that. There we go. Fixed. There you go. Just cinch a few stitches and we're done. I don't think anyone's going to look as closely at my knitting as I do. So that is the progress. I am hoping to have the back done today or tomorrow. Then the rest of the week focus on the front, and then the first week of December power through those sleeves. I am just going to power through those sleeves. First couple weeks of December, which will give me a couple weeks to sew it together. Oh no, I've got to do the collar. Ooh, this is tight. This is getting very close. We're going to see. Let's see how far we get. And of course, I've been measuring it on Patrick the whole way. So let's just, like, fingers crossed. And this is, what is this knit on? These are knit on 3.5 millimeter needles, 3.25 for the ribbing, 3.5 millimeter for the ribbing. And let me tell you, I'm looking forward to finishing this and seeing the other side, saying goodbye to it. So let's hope, fingers crossed. If this does not work, and this does not fit Patrick, and if he doesn't like it, it's either going to be a giveaway or charity. So I'm hoping it stays in the family. There you go. So those are my works in progress. Wow, that was a lot of works in progress. Okay, I'm not going to talk about acquisitions this time because December's coming up. Matter of fact, in a week, by the time you see this, probably it will already be December. And I am contemplating doing Vlogmas again. What I will say is I will probably, if I do Vlogmas, which I'm pretty sure I will do Vlogmas, let's be honest. I think I'll do Vlogmas, but it'll be every second day. Might be every day, but don't be surprised if it's every second day, where I take the 13th and the 14th, put it together, or whatever. I found last year that every single day was difficult to achieve with any level of comfort for me. So I think I might do it every other day. So it will be a every 2 day in December Vlogmas. But I have some Advent calendars coming. I have an Advent calendar from Shirley Bryan Yarns. So excited about that. I have an Advent calendar that has arrived from Stash, and that is a yarn shop in Alberta. And what I loved about that Advent was they partnered with different dyers, so that there's a whole variety of yarn dyers in that Advent. So I'm really excited about that. And I actually have, this is the one that got caught up in customs. I have a Sweet Sparrow Knits from Julie in the States. I have a Advent, I think hers are 10 gram minis, Advent from her last year, but it got held up because of COVID and didn't get it and blah, blah, blah. So I didn't end up opening it. So I've actually got 3 Advents then that I'm going to be opening. And I do have a couple of winter boxes that I purchased because I like to support, you know, our artisans. So I have a winter box. I don't know when I'm going to open those from Joanna of Stitching the High Notes. I have Cozy Knitters. I hopefully have Cozy Knitters Advent skein coming. It might be stuck because of all of the flooding and the highways being closed and bridges being washed out. It might be stuck. I don't know if I'm actually going to get that on time. And I have the Les Garçons, or I don't know if it's Max the Knitter or Designs by Dell or Les Garçons. I don't know whose winter box that is, but it's a collaboration between Les Garçons and La Bien-Aimée. And so I haven't got that yet either. That comes sometime in December. So I will share all of those with you as I get them. But in the meantime, I will be prepping for Vlogmas, knitting my little fanny off on Patrick's sweater. Need to decorate, need to bake, still going to do all that kind of stuff. There are a few events happening in Vancouver this year, yay, but still got to be very, very careful as to what we do because of COVID. But looking forward to sharing all of that with you. So this is what I'm going to end this off with. This is my gift to someone. And in fairness, I'm only going to leave this open for a limited amount of time. So because it's Advent season, where people are either knitting their minis, or they have minis, or they have a ton of scraps, don't have to have an Advent calendar per se, but you might have a lot of scraps that you want a project to do. You want to get rid of your scraps, you want to use them up, whether they're for yourself, for a gift, for a charity. But Advents and patterns that have the potential to use a lot of minis or scrap knitting, patterns like that are fun and would be very useful. And so I would like to gift somebody an Advent calendar that I made myself. So in this Advent calendar is 100 gram skein of sock yarn in a colorway that has nothing to do with the actual minis that are in here, and 24 10 gram minis. The 24 10 gram minis are yarns that I've wound up from my leftover yarns. So they're all either 100% merino or 80-20 sock yarn or 75-25 sock yarn from all the projects that I've had. And I skeined up 10 gram minis, 24 of them, and wrapped them all up. So this is the festive little package. There's no bow because this has got to be mailed to somebody. So my gift to you, to someone, is not only the Advent calendar, but the shipping cost. So this is going to cost money to ship. So what I would like to hear from you, excuse me, between now, and I'm going to look at my calendar because we've got to do this quickly. So if you know of anybody who wants to participate in this, please have them subscribe and comment below on this video their favorite pattern or what pattern you would recommend to use up scraps or for an advent calendar. For example, Curious Handmade, Helen Stewart of Curious Handmade, she has Knit Vent every year. So she always puts out patterns. It's called Knit Vent 2021. I do it every year. I get the patterns. I don't necessarily knit everything, but lovely patterns that are either good for using minis or small enough projects where you can use, partial skeins. That's wonderful. A lot of advents come with their own pattern, and then they're published the following year. So what pattern would you recommend to use for an advent? So all 24 minis, or that is really good for using leftover yarn. And I'm going to exclude scrappy socks and granny stripe blankets. So no granny stripe blankets and no scrappy socks, only because those are kind of a given. I'm looking for actual patterns that you would recommend to use up for an advent calendar or for skeins. So this is my homemade, guys. I'm not a professional. This is Linda's homemade version. So it is what it is. You might want it for yourself if you haven't had the opportunity to participate in an advent calendar, or maybe you know somebody who would really cherish getting a little bit spoiled at Christmas with an advent. I do not have the names of all of the yarns. This is years worth, so you're going to have to go on faith that all of them are merino, and some of them have nylon or stellina. Some of them are just 100% merino. Okay, so let's do December 2nd, because by the time you see this or the time it gets posted, it'll be Thursday the 25th. We'll give it exactly a 1-week window to make comments, and then I'm going to draw a prize, and I'll probably just do either an Instagram post or a quick video through Vlogmas on the winner. Oh, I'll probably do a video through Vlogmas. I forgot I was doing that. So December 2nd. December 2nd, you have to have your comment in for an opportunity to win this advent calendar handmade by me. There you go. So it is what it is. So hopefully that is something that is inspiring to you or can inspire someone in your circle to knit something scrappy and adventy. I know they're going to get it late. I appreciate that. But it's the thought and the intention. So hopefully that works well for you. So on that note, I will sign off and say thank you so much. I greatly appreciate how much time you've spent with me. And thank you for tuning in. Please tell all your friends, subscribe, like, comment for an opportunity to win, or don't tell anybody. More opportunity for you to win. That's not very Christmassy though, but either way, it works for me. Thank you so much. I hope you all take care of yourselves, enjoy this holiday season, however you celebrate. Just enjoy the good food, enjoy all the lights, enjoy the festivities. I celebrate Christmas, so I'm going to have a wonderful Christmas and looking forward to sharing some of that with you throughout December. Thanks so much, everyone. Take care.
Sometimes you're crazy, then you wonder why I'm such a baby call. down low